Welcome everybody to the DC New 52 review. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. I am your host as always, Pauly DC, and let's get into another one of these things. Today I will review Green Lantern Vol.1. It was titled Sinestro and it was written by Geoff Johns with art by Doug Mahnke, and the first 6 issues were released between November 2011 to April of 2012. I'll start by discussing the two main players. Obviously, there's fighter pilot Hal Jordan, who appeared first in Showcase number 22 by John Brome and Gil Kane in the fall of 1959. Now, this character has such an insane past, it actually shocked me when I read it in full for the first time, and it goes way beyond the typical death and later return. It got so insane, I'd actually really like to hear what longtime fans of him think of it all. Next up, there's Hal's greatest foe, and basically the lead role in this first volume, Thal Sinestro, creator of the Sinestro Corps, which I call the Yellow Lanterns, and he's also got a seriously long past, having been a former Green Lantern and mentor to Hal. He too was created by Mr. Kane and Brome, debuting in Green Lantern number 7, August 1961. I also have to mention that because Geoff Johns was in a top position for the New 52, he surely had some say in its entire layout, which meant he wasn't about to let all his work on the Green Lantern comics go down the toilet. So with the Unseen 5-year setup, everything from his 2004 Rebirth miniseries / reintroduction of Hal, to the year-long Brightest Day Max series, and all that was in between got packed into it, which pretty much made this series a soft follow-up to everything. The whole run of Mr. Johns is definitely worth reading. Issue number 1 begins on the Green Lantern Corps' special homeworld known as Oa, which has been around since Green Lantern number 1, August 1960, also by Gil Kane and John Brome, and in continuation from the War of the Lanterns crossover, the group's arch nemesis Sinestro is being reinstated due to a Green Lantern ring choosing him. The creators and leaders of the GLC, called the Guardians of the Universe, created by, you guessed it, Mr. Kane and Brome in Green Lantern number 1 as well, go on to make the reintroduction official, with even Sinestro questioning what the hell is going on. Stupidity, heresy, totally insane, yup. And the most likable Guardian among the pack, named Ganthet, agrees with this, so his comrades suddenly turn on him, saying they have grown tired of his antics. Things that jump to Earth, more specific, Coast City, the place Hal Jordan calls home, and he's not home 10 minutes before making himself look like a bit of a doofus while showing us he's no longer a member of the Green Lanterns. Because he got his dumbass arrested though, this ushers in an opportunity to introduce longtime love interest of his, Carol Ferris, to bail him out. An underused female DC character for me, who debuted in Showcase number 22. You already know who did the writing and art, but she didn't have the Star Sapphire persona until years later, when at one time it corrupted her, bringing in some supervillain moments for Miss Ferris. Here in the New 52, she's still part owner of Ferris Aircrafts, where Hal met her doing test piloting. Back to Sinestro, he's in Space Sector 1417, scoping out his homeworld of Korugar, which has been overtaken by his Yellow Lantern army, and next we see that he has no problem with murdering his own soldiers, because after getting spotted by one of them, he is immediately attacked due to being in Green Lantern attire. So after some green garrote action, we also see that either a Green Lantern ring or Sinestro himself can outright destroy a Yellow Lantern ring. Things finish up with Hal and Carol's date, with her thinking that he's gonna propose, but that is far from the case, resulting in her leaving him behind rather pissed, and Hal then returns to home to eviction notices and a smug-looking Sinestro offering him a Green Lantern ring in exchange for his obedience. Issue number 2 continues right from the previous one, with Hal first viciously trying to get the Green Lantern ring off of Sinestro, but that goes over about as well as you'd think. So, with Jordan pretty much at the mercy of Sinestro, he goes on to insult his ability to make a difference on Earth while being a Green Lantern, and then after literally not a word spoken back, Hal is given a new ring created by Sinestro, which he then immediately tries to attack him with, but that goes over about as well as you'd think because of Sinestro making it useless against him. Like Carol has surely said to Hal before, you're pretty, but frickin' dumb. The rest of this issue then consists of a rescue and action sequence due to Hal hearing heavy sirens not far away, so Sinestro follows him to a major bridge accident in progress where Green Lantern jumps right back into the hero thing, rescuing a few people in need, only to then be slightly embarrassed by Sinestro now showing he can switch off Hal's ring with a single thought. He then proceeds to seriously upstage him by saving everyone around while also fixing the bridge, which garners thanks that he could care less about. Come on, Thal, admit it, that made you feel a little good. Our two leads then give us a first glimpse at some of the fantastic verbal interactions they have, but this one is interrupted by a nasty looking yellow lantern called Gorgor, who was responsible for the bridge problems, and he goes on to say whoever kills Sinestro is the new boss. Gorgor then ends up going bye-bye, after it is shown again that Sinestro will kill his own with zero remorse, which leads into him telling Hal that he was given his new GL ring to help free Korugar from the entire Yellow Lantern Corps. Issue number 3 starts with Carol finding out that Hal is a Green Lantern again, except seeing Sinestro by his side surely causes some concern. The full deal is then laid out on why Sinestro came to Hal, which is basically Korugar and its people's safety in return for his new Green Lantern ring. Now, the ensuing conversation the two have with Sinestro ribbing on Hal and Carol's relationship, warranting an example of how Jordan can still hurt him, followed up by the first time I've ever seen Sinestro laughing, and finally the duo beginning their mission in space while bantering. This is the script work I like to highlight in these reviews. Really excellent stuff. Cutting over to the Guardians of the Universe, they're all in the central precinct room of OA, and we see that Ganthet has been brain drained by his mates while they all announce the Green Lantern Corps has irreparable faults, and so it is time for the Third Army. Our two main players have next arrived to Korugar with a huge piece of info being dropped by Sinestro, saying a GL can shut down the Yellow Lantern Corps central power battery. Sinestro also shows Hal a hidden Green Lantern feature. They can do whatever the writer needs them to do. They can go dark stealth mode, thus allowing the two to sneak onto the planet where instructions are laid out to Jordan to wait for nightfall, but Sinestro then goes on to do exactly what he just told Hal not to after he sees some Yellow Lanterns about to kill an old friend of his named Arsona. He takes care of the Bobbit Worm with Limbs member while Hal takes a friggin' bazooka to the head of the purple blob Yellow Lantern who was guarding the central battery, and then he next tries to do as instructed, flying inside, only for the thing to not shut down at all. Instead, it just, casually disintegrates him. Issue number 4 opens on a quick flashback trying to set up what Hal and Carol's relationship was, I guess. But anyway, back on Korugar, Sinestro is shocked and pissed that the central battery rejected the Green Lantern, resulting in Hal being spat out, which allows them both to be captured by the many confused Yellow Lanterns looking on at their boss's new colors. So what happened to Jordan being disintegrated? Nothing happened there? Okay. Hal winds up getting thrown in a ring-draining prison cell wherein he tries to escape at first, but as he runs out of ring power, the last construct he creates is one of Carol. Well, ain't that sweet. Next, Sinestro is seen being mercilessly tortured by Yellow Lantern Professor Incid. But with him getting hardly a word out of Sinestro, he too gets thrown into a draining cell right beside Hal's, except his is full of other imprisoned Korugarians who are clearly very fearful of him. Arsona then takes point on doing all the talking, and all she has to say is her one-time support of Sinestro is much regretted. And after looking on at injured children, Sinestro actually apologizes, saying that he made a mistake. Hal's face after hearing this is quite comedic, and he decides to then cut in, suggesting an idea to Sinestro of creating GL rings for all of his people with him at the moment, so they can use them for one big escape attempt. Obviously, Sinestro doesn't admit that it's a clever idea, but he does then go on to barf up dozens of Green Lantern rings, donning them on all the Korugarians, who naturally get ready to attack him with them. Not much of a cliffhanger though, considering we already know the rings can't do shit to him. Issue number 5 kicks off with a bit of Sinestro and Arsona's history being discussed in very heated manner, ending on her trying to blast him with her new Green Lantern ring, only to find out it's useless against its creator. Sinestro is proud of her that she's able to use the ring though. And besides this, not much more is learned about Arsona, either than she's a high-ranking cop plus original character who is seen like 3 or 4 other times. Anyhow, with those unpleasantries out of the way, Hal asks what the hell they're gonna do next, to which the answer is Plan B. Professor Incid is inspecting Sinestro's Green Lantern power battery while reports about Arkilo, who starred in the Green Lantern New Guardian series explaining why he's not present, are being passed on by Yellow Lantern Romot Rue, who's from the same world as Green Lanterns Tomar 2 and Tomar Ray, but then suddenly, to all of their bewilderment, Professor Insane Clown Posse gets torn apart by the Green Lantern power battery, which then returns to Sinestro, freeing him and the Korugarians. Hal is also released so he can help fight and fend off all of the Yellow Lanterns until Sinestro this time can enter his central battery with Jordan, and together they channel their power strong enough to shut it down, thus rendering all of the Yellow Lanterns comatose. Until Sinestro chooses to repower them, of course. The Korugarians are then split on how they feel about him now, but after harsh words from Arsona, Sinestro collects his disconnected Yellow Lanterns and central battery with Hal so they can leave while having their last one-on-one chat, this time about motives and what they truly believe in. And then Jordan is told he can keep his ring, but is not getting a Green Lantern power battery to recharge it. So Sinestro sends him back to Earth with nothing except the want to be a GL. He does decide to then find Carol the next day though, so they can begin like the 15th edition of their love saga, and on the last page Sinestro is seen bringing his Yellow Lanterns and central battery to Oa, wherein the Guardians of the Universe say it was all part of their plans that now involve going to the Chamber of Shadows, where they will release the first Lantern who will lead the Third Army. Yes indeed, the Green Lantern family wasted no time getting into a big crossover. Issue number 6 wraps up this book, and I at first thought that this opening scene was a flashback due to the way Hal is drawn here. He literally looks like he's 15 years old. I get it, each artist draws the character differently, but how did we go from this to this? I don't know, and I don't care. The point of this opener is to show that Hal doesn't need to be a Green Lantern in order to enjoy life with Carol, and can also find other action seen here when he has to thwart a quartet of idiot thugs trying to shake down an aircraft museum owner. 'Cause you know, that happens quite often. Things then cut to the planet Orgoro, where Sinestro has tracked down this world's hero champion, another original character called Starstorm, who's also a former enemy of his, but by the looks of SS now, Thal has clearly been able to get him under his thrall. The reason for the visit today is because Sinestro needs to find Lyssa Drac, one of the few Yellow Lantern members, to get some background development, and she apparently is hiding on Orgoro these days. So Starstorm has a special power helmet placed on him against his will, due to it having strong locating abilities. It's not long before Lyssa is found, but she's ready for them with something called the Book of the Black, a wildly powerful object from the Sinestro Corps War story, and after a brief fight with Miss Drac, Sinestro gets a hand on it, which shows him future visions of him as an Indigo Tribe member, having many Green Lanterns by his side, and then being dead. Lyssa now tries to take Starstorm's helmet, but it ends up blasting her into unconsciousness, but because of what Sinestro just saw, he spares her life, since she's way too cool to kill off this early, and then zips out of there. He heads straight to 12-year-old Hal Jordan, who is now happily living with Carol, and when arrived, suits him back up in Green Lantern gear, saying they have much work to do. Alright. Beginning with the plot, there were clear indicators out of the gate that the Green Lantern family was heading for another big event, which was kind of a theme during the Geoff Johns era. This opening story moved very briskly, and in case the title didn't already indicate it, Sinestro is pretty much the main character here. I know he was based on actor David Niven, but Vincent Price always resonated with him more for me, since I liked more of his films and voice acting work, so that's the voice I always gave him. I'm standing firm here too, he's the best arch enemy to a Justice Leaguer. Lex, Joker, Cheetah, Zoom, Black Manta, they can all try for second. Sinestro here is driven, charismatic, and full of aura. With a rather straightforward plot to start here, the best part was the whole team up with him and Hal. Something about top rivals becoming more than just the good and the bad guy to each other, with new unexpected interactions happening, that can hold a lot of potential. Take any fictional duo from literature who are bitter enemies and put them in a situation where they need to collaborate during serious crisis. Like I said, potential. Moving over into dialogue, as mentioned multiple times, Hal and Sinestro's discussions here carried this opening volume. Aside from Carol, Lyssa, and Arsona having a handful of lines while a couple of the Yellow Lanterns got 4 or 5, that main duo were the only ones speaking. But that is okay. Starstorm also seemed like an interesting chap, and I thought maybe future interaction between him and Hal would come about after Sinestro's last words to him. We shall see. Geoff Johns was also no debate a top 10 writer over the New 52, and out of the 3 main titles he worked on, this one had the best scripts overall if you were to ask me. Now for the art, Doug Mahnke's work has been a staple in the Green Lantern stable for a while. I like the look of Korugar and Coast City by night. Carol does look a little close to Wonder Woman, but my favorite part is I'm always a fan over the menagerie of aliens drawn in these series. Mostly Yellow Lanterns here, but regardless, limitless chances for the artist to exercise a different type of creativity. I will wrap things up here, and if you've watched until the end, I want to personally thank you for that, and to please like, share, and subscribe. Please follow me on all my social media platforms, and to please join me next time for Batman Volume 1.